Hey guys, I'm Emily,
And I'm Maria.
and welcome to today's segment of the Rereadables, where we will be analyzing several aspects of Fyodor Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment.
To begin, we selected our most rereadable scene based off the huge shift the event poses to the plot.
You guessed it, the scene we selected was when our main character, Raskolnikov, finally acts upon his plans and kills the pawnbroker and unexpectedly her half-sister.
Now, this scene presents a drastic change in Raja's behavior, mainly portrayed by the shift from Raja's thoughts before killing the pawnbroker and how they contrast intensely with how he feels during the aftermath.
Raja, before killing the pawnbroker, was nervous but confident that what he was doing was for the sake of the greater good. Raja's first side of his dual nature is shown before the kill, as he believes he is merely performing a service as the extraordinary man he believes himself to be. Because he views himself as above morals and a rebel who rejects the conformity of society, he justifies his murderous plans with the value of utilitarianism. By killing this despicable pawnbroker, he feels as if he is servicing society and essentially that the ends are justifying the means.
If we shift over to after the murders, the reader experiences a complete contradictory side of Raja that is suddenly overcome with paranoia, guilt, and the burdens of his actions. This complete 180 flip of Raja's character not only intrigues the reader due to its controversial nature, but catalyzes a debate with oneself regarding the often black and white view of character and morale.
Overall, we picked this scene as the most rereadable due to its intriguing nature and its ability to present the duality of Raja's characters so clearly.
Next, we will be discussing the casting what-ifs while placing large emphasis on the importance of the setting.
Once again, within the setting, we see the theme of duality repeated. St. Petersburg is described as dirty, impoverished, and dark, giving us the feeling that St. Petersburg is a representation of a fall from grace. Later in the novel, when Raja is finally revived, which is ironic considering he was exiled, Siberia is described as fresh, pure, and untouched land where he can be redeemed. Without direct implication, the reader can picture St. Petersburg as a land of sin, like hell, whereas Siberia is the equivalent of renewed grace, much like the ideas of heaven.
In our transition towards discussing characters, there are three that we want to focus on to further emphasize Raja's duality. We have Svidrigailov, who represents Raja's cold and selfish demeanor, while Sonia represents Raja's compassionate and humane side. Svidrigailov shares Raja's view that he is an extraordinary man and feels that he is above morality. He has an insatiable desire to fulfill his yearnings and only thinks the end result when trying to get what he wants. This ideology that he can do anything as long as he is satisfied is enough for him to justify actions such as raping a 15-year-old. He believes he can do as he pleases just because he wants to. This is the side of Raja that feels above others and alienates himself from society. He wants to satisfy his wants and will do whatever necessary to make sure he is contented.
On the other hand, Sonia represents his empathy towards the suffering of humanity and his compassionate side. Sonia, in a sense, is a savior that rebirths him from the other side of his nature, which has fallen from grace. Sonia's character represents Raja's ability to be redeemed as she leads him towards morality with her strong faith in God. Sonia is meek and humble, which completely contrasts the other side of Raja that believes himself to be an extraordinary man.
These two characters are foiled throughout the novel in order to show the full extent of the contrasting natures of Raja's duality.
In the Apex Mountain section, we will be discussing other significant published works by Dostoevsky and identifying common trends.
Dostoevsky had four other notable works published by the names of Notes from the Underground, Demons and Devils, The Idiot, and The Brothers Karamazov.
In Notes from the Underground, an anonymous narrator in St. Petersburg writes memoirs regarding his alienation from modern society. In Demons and Devils, a terrorist group commits several murders in a provincial town in Russia.
In The Idiot, a man recently released from a Swiss medical clinic returns to St. Petersburg only to be exiled to Siberia for murder. In The Brothers Karamazov, Dostoevsky introduces a philosophical debate between faith in God, passion, and intellect by having one brother represent each motif.
There are obvious commonalities between all the stories Dostoevsky wrote, as they all have an eerie tone that repeat the same themes and motifs: murder, alienation, morality, and faith. They all have extremely similar plots, settings, and conflicts as they deal with almost identical struggles with duality.
One of the three notable lines we picked from the novel was, kill her, take her money, and with the help of it devote oneself to the service of humanity and the good of all. What do you think? Would not one tiny crime be wiped out by thousands of good deeds? One death and 100 lives in exchange. It's simple arithmetic.
This quote is important because it emphasizes Roja's idea that essentially what he is doing is justified because the ends justify the means. This was one of the largest catalysts for the murder in the first place, making it an extremely important, stimulating event.
Another notable line would be, "It's not a matter of permission or prohibition. He will suffer if he is sorry for his victim. Pain and suffering are always inevitable for a large intelligence and a deep heart. The really great men must, I think, have great sadness on earth."
This quote is important because it shows the two sides of Raja's nature struggling with each other for dominance. On one hand, Raja feels justified and above morality, whereas the other side of Raja feels great remorse and guilt for the pain he has inflicted. Him using the concept of the extraordinary man to justify him feeling guilty is a representation of how his dual nature often struggles with contradictions within itself.
Suffering, too, is a good thing. Suffer. Fling yourself straight into life, without deliberation. Don't be afraid. The flood will bear you to the bank and set you safe on your feet again. You must fulfill the demands of justice.
This final line is important as it shows this new and redeemed Raja that we haven't seen before. Raja is now fulfilled, courageous, and ready to fight the world's challenges. He has been rebirthed by truth and liberated by justice.
For our next section, we will be presenting our Austin Rivers Award to a minor character that played a major role in the course of the novel. For this section, we picked Dimitri because of his ability to directly foil Raja's character. Dimitri is a kind, sweet, and loving man who takes care of Raja's family while Raja does not. Dimitri serves as a protector for Raja's sister and eventually becomes her husband. Although Raja and Dimitri have many similarities in their intellect, Dimitri sees danger in Raja's rationale of the extraordinary man. Essentially, Dimitri throughout the novel shows the audience everything Raja is not, sociable and humble.
The first motif in the novel is poverty, which is seen everywhere in the dark and dirty depths of St. Petersburg. Another repeated motif is the color yellow as a symbol of poverty. For example, Sonia carries a yellow card to signify that she is a prostitute. There are many bridges throughout the novel that also indicate Raja crossing a threshold of sorts and coming to new realizations. Finally, an interesting motif we spotted was the idea of going to America. When Svidrigailov commits suicide, he claims he was going to America. While generally America represents freedom, the author associates America with evil and corrupt actions throughout the novel.
Hey guys, that's going to be all for the rereadables today. But before we go, we want to let you know a fun fact about our favorite author, Dostoevsky.
Did you know that Dostoevsky also grew up in extreme poverty, alienated himself from society, and was exiled to Siberia for 4 years?
All right, that's all for today.
Tune in next time on the Rereadables.
Bye!